All right. Hi, I'm Garrett Brown, 2007, graduate of South Salem High School, and a second generation Saxon.
Let's get started.
Yeah, today we're joined by 2007 graduate Garrett Brown. As a Saxon, Garrett's years were filled with his involvement in leadership, peer mentoring, and DECA, as well as his participation on our football and baseball teams. He's currently living in Kirkland, Washington, working in real estate and investing in his community through his support and involvement in nonprofits like Harvest Against Hunger, Young Life, Rotary, the National Prayer Breakfast, and I just can't wait to hear about all of that. Garrett and his wife, shout out to Gina, are proud parents to their almost 3-year-old daughter, Sophia. His Instagram handle is GB Living the Life. So welcome, Garrett, and tell us all about that life you've been living since your Saxon glory days.
Oh yeah, happy to, and thanks for allowing this platform to share because I'd love to share kind of what I've been up to and lessons learned and mistakes learned through high school that then lead to an adult life and hopefully some maturity that happens after the fact. So yeah, happy to share whatever you want to hear.
Yeah, Garrett, tell us. Let's rewind first to those days after you walked across the stage, received your diploma. Where'd you head from there? What was life like just right after high school?
That summer right after senior year, I worked at Washington Family Ranch, Young Life Camp in Central Oregon, and that was a couple months there, and that led right into going down to Eugene to U of O, 4 years down there, and graduated with an economics degree, and that was both good times, kind of shaped who I was and what I was becoming, as a young person, trying to find my own way and everything. And then right after that, moved up to Portland and lived with some friends for a year where we were in a mentorship internship program, kind of learning how work and faith intersect together. And that was the connection to the National Prayer Breakfast that you mentioned, where we worked a job 4 days a week and then met with a few mentors. And funny enough, some of them were former Saxons years ago. So it was nice to, even though I was living in Portland, able to come down to Salem every once in a while, connect with them. And then from there, got into real estate right after that, 2012, 2013. Did that in Portland for about 5 years and then moved up to Seattle in 2017.
In 2017, from there on, talk about what life's been like for the last 6-7 years since you made that big move up to northern Washington.
Yeah, it was one of those things. Well, even leaving Portland, I knew I wanted to go somewhere that was, it was kind of ranking friends, good weather, or work. So obviously, weather was lowest on the totem pole there, but had some really good friends that were actually South and Sprague and West people that had gone to University of Washington or SPU. So was stayed in touch with them over the years and decided to move up there and glad I did, because then soon after that I met my now wife Gina, and then we, after got married, then moved to Kirkland, where she's born and raised, which is really nice to be living in a town like I grew up in South Salem with both my parents having gone to South, living in a town where she was born and raised too. So we're kind of creating a similar childhood to what I had, just hers, and so it's a nice way to put our touch on things that I had grown up to.
Speaking of your parents, if I know them like I think I do, they're big Beaver fans. What was it like being a Duck with parents who are sworn enemies?
Exactly right. Oh, and also I do say, I'm still a Beaver fan, so I would say that I went to U of O but wasn't a Duck. So went down there because I wanted to do sports marketing. So thought I would work at Nike, or a few years in college, I worked for the Salem Kaiser Volcanoes, which was a fun thing to learn, that working in sports and liking sports are two different things. So it was a quick decision after a couple of those summers. Say I'm going to switch from sports marketing to economics, which I studied in college, which now helps me in real estate some. So I really enjoyed my 4 years in Eugene, but the green and yellow didn't quite stick with me.
Talk a little bit about that transition from being an economics major, how that then infused into the work. How did you find yourself in real estate, and share about that story.
Yeah. And coming out of that 1 year internship that I mentioned, I knew I wanted to do something that really kind of intersected my passions of helping people and following up and seeing something through, and then my skills too. So it's like what connects passions and skills. And so I knew I really wanted to do something that was more long term sales, and working with people. The job that I'd had that year was in business to business, some tech sales, and didn't quite have that same thing of really helping a family along, or helping answer some questions. And so it was either going to be real estate, financial advisor, insurance, mortgages. So I talked to one of my old Young Life leaders in high school, Ryan Gilbrook. He's a State Farm person, and Ted and Alex Ferry as well. Today, what about insurance? But real estate sounded more fun, and so it was a good way to do something entrepreneurial, while at the same time really helping people and getting the satisfaction from seeing that process through, for folks.
Garrett, you've mentioned a couple times now this kind of that bigger picture thinking, almost a deeper calling for you.
Yeah.
Share us a little bit about where that comes from. What are the roots that lead you into thinking about the integration of passions and purpose? Something deeper going on there.
Right. Yeah. I mean, the integrations of passion and purpose that really do come from my faith in Jesus Christ, and that we're called to work and called to help others, and to love our neighbor as ourselves. So part of that GB living the life Instagram handle is John 10:10. I've come to give life, and life to the full. And so really hoping that me and my family live a full life, and those around me too. So I think lots of times, even going back to high school and going through puberty and everything, it's like, oh, it could be sad, depressing, lonely, and so it's like, where can we find not just comfort, but meaning, and something that we're living for, and so that's a lot of it too.
Yeah, you indicated in your survey that mental health promotion is important to you. How does
Very
that
much.
intersect with what you're sharing? Talk about that.
Yeah. I mean, I think like all of us, in Salem or the Valley, it's like it rains a lot and is tough. So those winter months are really tough. It can be just with the weather. So that was something that I've always dealt with, and that's why I mentioned it's kind of funny of moving from Portland to Seattle didn't solve the weather problem at all. But it's something that I think it's really important, especially for high school students here now. Of you think everything is in such a microscope, and such so important, but of like how long life can and should be. So really the importance of the mental health aspect to a high school, college kids, young adults, is something that's super important, and we lose sight of if we don't have that bigger picture of what could be ahead of us.
Yeah, I'm thinking that's got to be super important to you too, as a
Yeah.
dad now
Right.
of an
Yeah.
almost 3-year-old. Talk about the life you and Gina are working to build for Sophia, and those dreams, aspirations. How does that integrate into the person you are,
Mhm.
and the work you're doing?
Yeah. Well, yeah, it's really modeling for our daughter a loving household, and parents that are working together, and companions, and sometimes even having to be tough a little bit, or say no, we don't do that, this that, other thing, or happens all the time of you know my wife says no to watch some show or whatever. She immediately comes to me, and I said, I'm going to say the same exact thing that Mama just said. No, we're not turning on that show. We're not doing this. So those are the funny little things that learning now as a dad. But it's really, what we're trying to instill, is a life of, working hard, but following the rules and doing what we're supposed to. And it just ends up being a lot easier that way.
Yeah, I also noticed a theme of service for you,
Yeah.
and hear it in what you've shared, what I know about you, and certainly
Right.
about your family too. You're involved in a lot of those nonprofits. Let's jump into high school, because that's where I see a lot of that starting for you, and
Yeah.
in your story. We'll use our big four questions as a launching pad, and then I'm sure I've got some follow-up questions. As anyone who's listened to this podcast knows, those big four questions are brought to us by the Saxon Success Fund, which is an organization that raises money to invest in our school and in our students through capital investments, projects, and college scholarships. So if anyone wants to get involved, and I certainly hope that they do, please visit saxonsuccessfund.org or reach out to us in our social media as well. So Garrett, those big four questions today. Number one, knowing where and who you are today, all that you are up to, being a dad, being a partner, a spouse, what or who helped get you to this point, thinking high school and beyond?
Yeah, I would definitely say, my folks first and foremost, and then two, my brother Blair was. It's funny. It's like Blair's your age. I'm the same age as your sister, and then our little brothers are the same age too,
Yes.
or right around there. So kind of how, what shapes who I am, and specifically in the context of South High is, growing up near Bush Park and having both my parents live there. I heard all these stories about, one, like all the fun stuff from my mom, being a cheerleader and the homecoming parade and the making the signs and everything. So it's like, even as a kid, we would make those signs for the homecoming parade and stand out in our driveway and have candy, thrown at us. So it made it all that more special than as a high schooler to be on those floats and toss to those kids and everything like that. But then too, like with my older brother, like a lot of it was, him setting the example for the hard work and being on top of your school work and really being, committed. For him, it was, the sports he played. So really looking up to him, in those kind of ways. So, and those are those things that kind of shaped me, and that it all kind of had a context of, being around the high school and being around, a lot of stuff that was going on at school.
How about football? You're involved in football and baseball. Coaches, teachers that stand out, classes that stand out, anything like that?
Yeah, most definitely. And it's so funny because now looking back, you don't realize how much time and energy that these teachers and coaches give to you, and then it's like 4 years and you're gone, and they may not hear from you or whatnot. So for me, it was really the coaches that I had, and it just worked out that way for both baseball and football, and then also as we went, because they were younger coaches at the time, and we grew together, was Coach Riley, Coach Short, and Coach Kerr. So Coach Kerr was the wide receivers coach in football, and then also for baseball. And then as we went from JV to varsity, those guys all moved up at the same time too. So I was in their classes. Riley, Kerr for history of baseball, which was a fun one that's no longer offered, but was a cool elective, and Short for economics. And so really having, both teachers and coaches that, I was around a lot and saw me both in the classroom and then in competition, just makes it really, really fun. So, a month ago they had that big celebration for Coach Defoe in his retirement. So went back to the South versus Spray game for the first time, and I was thinking, oh, these guys will be busy, or they've got a bunch of other people to see, but something that I'm really glad I did, and was kind of my charge to lots of former students or South Sam alumni listening to this, is to reach out to those teachers and those coaches and those people that really had an impact on your life. Because I had called or texted them a couple days ahead of time and said, hey, I'm going to be at the game, love to see you. and they were excited to hear from me. So you think of teachers, as kids, in this, obviously the adult role, but as we get older, it should switch to, it can switch to a peer-to-peer relationship, and in those moments, it's the person who should initiate is the person who can. And for me, I was coming down to the game, and with my daughter, and had only a few people that I wanted to see, and they have 100 people that they could see. So I wanted to make it a point to say, hey, I'd love to connect with you real quick. And funny thing with Coach Kerr is his son goes to Sprague, and so even though it's still teaching at South, I was like, hey, I'm over here, and he goes, oh, I'm sitting on the Sprague side. I was like, all right, come sit with you. But I was able to catch up to him, and just pleasantly surprised by all these teachers that to connect with. Of they were never too busy. They were happy to see you and want to know what's going on. So really my encouragement to all these former students is please reach out to your teachers, because they do want to hear what you're up to, and all those times when you were a punk in their class or coaching you. It's like that develops out, and want to see what you're up to now. So they don't really get necessarily all the rewards of seeing a kid grow up, but they definitely want to hear about it later.
I love that. We're always trying to encourage our alumni to reach back out our way and just remind us the purpose for what we're doing as educators. Right. So appreciate you speaking to that. Talk a little bit about being. Yeah, go ahead.
Right. I was gonna say, wouldn't you say that's the same for you? I mean, you've been both sides on it. Growing up here in town, and really like that article that was in the Statesman Journal a couple of years ago of how the people around you have shaped you, but then how do you now give back on the teacher counselor side?
Yeah, absolutely. I thank you for bringing that up. Yeah. It is true. It's this. I'm constantly reminded, being now back in the Salem community, of all the people who did instill vision and worth and value in my life and my future, who saw something in me that I didn't especially see, or I didn't believe about myself. And then to be able to now either pay that forward or see the same people who made those impacts, being able to thank them in person or send them an email, all of it has been a rich experience for me. And certainly what I'm trying to do as a public educator and in the school setting that we have, to be a school counselor and to be able to meet with students every day and just hold up a mirror and say, hey, can you see yourself and see the strengths that we all see? I just need you to believe in yourself now and see how it's going to play out down the road. So yeah, I always say I'm working my dream job. And though I always thought I'd be out of Salem, to be able to be back here, even in a school that was a bitter rival as a former Olympian, now to be able to embrace the community and to be embraced by the community has been such a gift. So super important. Speaking of high school for you and being a punk, what sort of advice would you give yourself now as you look back on your high school version of Garrett?
Yeah, I would definitely say try more activities and feel free to get involved in a lot of stuff. So I know for me, the times being a punk were times when I wasn't in the winter time not playing basketball or doing another activity. It's like, oh, I should have done swimming. I should have done this, or just stuff to fill your time more things to be involved with, because then that also too can create a sense of community or really an interest that you're driving to, and keeps you busy and active. So I would really say, since you have so many opportunities that you can do, get involved with as much stuff as possible, because that will then help you decide what you want to do in college and professionally and everything like that.
Oh, so true. It's such a ripe time to try out classes for free, to be able to start a club or be a part of something, be a part of a sport, be a part of a music program. Our theater department's really strong. So just different ways that students can get involved. Right. We try to create as many as possible for those students. So yeah, thanks for speaking to that too. Similar question number 3 of our big 4. What's one thing you've learned since graduation that you wish you knew in high school?
Something I learned since graduation that I wish I knew. I would say it's really back to how much teachers care and would want to hear back. I mean, some of it's like, okay, had my 4 years, I'm done, I'm out, I'm not coming back. But really, it's those connections that you can make, or other people in our alumni network. Like I said, I had friends in Portland and Seattle that are all Salem Kaiser people and a lot of South Salem people. And so it's really to take advantage of the opportunities of people that you have their ear or they're willing to help. You just need to raise your hand. Like I was saying, of um, even though you may be the younger person in the scenario, you can initiate with that older person and say, "Hey, I'm looking for a mentor in this. I'm looking for advice on this topic," because people want to help someone that's willing to listen and take advice.
We're in classrooms next week. Speaking of mental health, we were
Yeah,
teaching, our counselors are going to be in all of our ninth grade classes teaching suicide prevention and
right.
strengths-based approach to that. One of the things we focus on is that mentoring, like find someone who has lived the life, someone who is living the life and made some mistakes along the way that you can
Right.
learn from. It's such an undervalued, underrated way to improve ourselves, to be a better version of ourselves day in and day out.
Yeah.
And so I'm so glad that you mentioned that too. That'll be something I get to mention to those students next week. We've got 550 ninth grade students that we're going to be teaching the value of reaching out to someone older, someone wiser, someone who's lived that life.
Right. Because a lot of us,
Yeah.
I mean, again, myself included, in high school, thinking, "Oh, finals are so overwhelming," or "Oh no, I didn't accomplish this goal I had in my head, that this expectation that I had for myself." And so you have these suicidal ideation thoughts and
Yeah.
everything, and it's like no, it's too, you have so much more life to live than just that. And so yeah, really finding that older person that's been there, done that, or had similar thoughts, and then how to treat and act on it in the right way.
Yeah. Yeah.
Super important.
Absolutely. Thank you. Yeah. Appreciate your
Yeah,
vulnerability there too. It's
of
huge.
course.
It's such an
Yeah. Well, I'm
important
glad I'm
message.
glad you're talking to all the freshmen on it too, because it can
Yeah.
be especially that time of year,
Yep.
you could feel like you don't fit in yet, or with being around older kids for one of the first times, and it's like, where to do, am I seen, heard, and known? It's like,
Mm,
yes, very,
mm,
very, very much so. And there are
right.
people here for you. We just don't, no one knows what's going on in your head, so you've got to be able to be vulnerable and to share that. And I'm sure kids will find someone that can relate on those same things. It's just if you're willing to raise your hand and ask for help, or to say it out loud.
Yeah, there's strength in that. There's strength that you don't have to be macho. You don't have to hide behind something. You don't have to
Yeah.
build up walls. Although there's lots of reasons to do those things. Uh, Actually, the strength is in the vulnerability. The strength is in reaching out to a
Yeah.
peer, to a mentor, to someone, and to building authentic, genuine relationships and authentic, genuine strengths through those conversations, through those relationships.
Yeah.
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 Question 4, if you could transform, we're big on transformational change here. If you could transform South Salem, or the version you remember it being, in one
Right.
way, what would you change about our school?
Gosh. I mean, I think it's changing in the way that I hope to see it change. Way more culturally diverse over the years, very economically diverse, and you just get a good range of different types of people and different types of friends that, you may, again, as we get older, you kind of go into, oh, this is someone that's like me and we are into the same stuff, and then that's it. Where as a high schooler, and especially at South, we have just such a wide range of people with different backgrounds, and everything. And so I would say, again, hearing stories from 1976 and 2004 and 2007 and 2012 from my brothers to the now, it's like it's so good to see, both, again, not ethnically diverse and culturally and socioeconomically diverse. And so you have a great range to learn, from different people, hear different sides of stories, and have more compassion for people. So that's how I would like to see the school changing. And again, correct me if I'm wrong, but that is how it's going from when we were, in high school, right?
Yeah, completely different school than what I remember, and yet the through line is still there. South Salem is South Salem, and
Yeah.
it's been one of the most incredible experiences for me, just being embraced by a community that is diverse, it does value so many of the same core values that I have that are
Right.
true and near and dear to my life. And so, yeah, it's an incredible community. Our students are amazing. I come to school every single day, fired up to be here, to work my dream job. I'm
Yeah.
so grateful for it.
Yeah.
A couple rapid fire
Yeah.
questions for you. You've mentioned coming back to Salem. I know your parents live around the corner from me, so
Okay.
I see them from time to time too. What is your go-to spot when you're in Salem? Is there a restaurant? Is there a coffee shop? Where do you love to hit when you're in Salem?
It's Paddington's Pizza no matter what.
Yes.
I
Yes.
had to wait until you even finished asking the question, but it'll be Paddington's. And again, all my West Salem friends, we always argue Walry's versus Paddington's, so
Right.
it's a very very easy answer. And I'm really looking forward to a Christmas tradition that we'll do at my folks' house. That as an elementary school kid, it was to get the Pizza Hut Book It free little personal pan pizza, and then decorate the Christmas tree, sit under the tree, turn the lights off, and
Yes.
sit and eat like a little pizza picnic. But ever since couldn't do Book It anymore, it's been Paddington's Pizza sitting under the Christmas tree. So when I go back next, it'll be for that, and that's what I'm looking forward to is Paddington's.
Yeah. Favorite place you've traveled throughout the years?
Favorite place I've traveled, and this was back to that internship program I was a part of my first year after college, was we got to go to Vietnam for a week to do a microfinance project. So helping local farmers be able then to sell their product and get American money into the country of Vietnam, and help support these local farmers. So we were in the main southern city, Ho Chi Minh City. Saigon was the capital, and then we got to go down to the Mekong Delta and meet with some farmers and everything. So that was a super cool place internationally. Got to go. So
Love that. You got a favorite book, favorite movie, TV show, anything like that?
gosh, right now my favorite movie, and this is back from college and everything, but it's Book of Eli. So it's a kind of a one man story on his journey.
Is that Denzel?
That Denzel is that one. Another one around the same time is 7 Pounds, which is Will Smith. But both Book of Eli and 7 Pounds are movies that I really liked and always come back to. So
Garrett, any shout outs to former classmates, any other teachers, anyone you want to spotlight right now?
yeah, most definitely. And in thinking of this, I was thinking back on some of my best memories of South, and it was really even before being a student, it was watching my brother's basketball team, the 2004 team that won the state title. So watching them as Leslie Lions and going to their tournaments and Sisters and Seaside, and so definitely enjoy. Those are memories I have of watching that same group play all together and then win that state championship. So that was always a fun one. And then too, so again, some of my favorite memories were being the ball boy for the football team when I was in middle school with Zach Defoe and PJ Sakura. So it helped being friends with those guys, and that their dads were the coach. But I would say, hey, I can I want to do that too. So being down on the field and on a rainy game, making sure that the footballs were all dry, and Josh Van Loo, who's the quarterback at the time, coming over to me and making us feel as middle schoolers that we were an important part of the team. And so I really appreciate Mr. Van Loo or Josh or Coach Van Loo or for even having an impact on a young kid and making me feel like I was special or an important part to his success. And that sort of attitude translates then on the backside as making sure that we're treating the younger people around us, people that may look up to us, with respect and dignity. So something that I always took. So really appreciate those things.
That's great. Anyone that you would say that we should interview next?
Oh yeah. I mean, a couple people that come to mind, and You would know, John Olinger, who
Just
was
reached out to him this morning.
perfect.
Yep.
I mean, he's got lots of great insights and puts out a newsletter called Worthy Wins. So he has a great, personal story of his time growing up, at South, and then kind of how that shapes him as, working adult and a parent today. So I would definitely. It sounds like you've already reached out to him, but yeah, I have a few other classmates. Even mentioning, PJ Secure. He's an elementary school teacher in town, and again has some great thoughts. So I would definitely reach out to him.
Two great ones, absolutely. Garrett, as we close today, tell us about
Yeah.
your work with Harvest Against Hunger, and how can people learn more about that?
Yeah, thanks for asking. So really, we've got a big fundraiser going right now, and I'll put the link in the show notes for you. And my ask for you guys, if you believe in dignity for people to shop, and even though they're getting free food, they get the opportunity to go and go shop, pick out what they want, and not just be given food that bread and beans that they already have a bunch of, but get to pick real food items from restaurants. So on the restaurant side, it's helping to prevent food waste, and then on the person that's getting the food, they can shop with dignity. And so that's really a big thing that I'm involved with in my Rotary group, and we've helped volunteer to package up food into little individual sized stuff for families to come shop. And what I'll do is that anyone that donates to that, we'll have the fundraiser here. I will then match to the Saxon Success Fund, any amount. So if someone wants to donate $100, I'll do $100 to Saxon Success Fund. So would love to have people that are, even though it's for up in the Puget Sound area, you're still making an impact for people that are affected by food insecurity. And so I'd love to then give back to Saxon Success Fund, if that's all right.
Oh, absolutely. We'll take it. Well, appreciate that. That's huge. Well, is there a website people can go to?
Yeah. We'll put the link in there. Yeah. That'll take directly to the page there. So I'll put that out for you.
Excellent. Garrett, anything that we haven't covered that would be important to know about you, or anything else that comes to mind?
Yeah. What really comes to mind is, now looking back, I took so much pride in being a Saxon, and really have, enjoyed being involved in the community, and now living far away, still able to be connected, to all you guys, and hearing what's going on at the school and all the extracurriculars. So, no, it's been, proud to be an alumni. And like I said, now being in my wife's hometown here, getting to kind of develop those same deep roots, or hope to develop those same deep roots, with people up here and everything.
Well, Garrett, we can't thank you enough for joining us today and being a Saxon graduate who exemplifies so much of what we want in our students, someone who sees the world from a deeper perspective, a wider lens, that's willing to provide service and help and support to those in need. Thank you for all the work you're doing and continue to do. And thank you for being a Saxon graduate that we absolutely need and want to spotlight.
Sounds good. Thanks, Ryan. Really appreciate it. And we'll talk soon.
Well, that wraps up another awesome episode of Always a Saxon podcast. Thanks so much to Garrett Brown for jumping on with us and for the stories that he shared. And thanks to our two sponsors, Saxon Success Fund, as well as Saucetown Properties, our newest sponsor, which is owned and operated by 2008 graduate Matt Cox. If you have a house you want to sell, but you don't feel like dealing with the hassle of doing repairs or hiring a realtor, you can go to saucetownproperties.net to get a fair cash offer today. As a former owner of multiple houses, I wish that I had Saucetown Properties available at that time. We just couldn't hack it as property management, and so we had to sell away houses that we had invested a lot of time and energy into. Matt and his team buys any and all homes regardless of condition, and you can also follow Matt's blog at mattcox444.substack.com. So thanks so much to those sponsors, and thanks again to all of you for listening.